This year, I decided to do a full NFL mock draft, not just the Texans one. And this is just the first round because I am not going to sit here and, draft 200 plus players and do a full 7-round mock draft. So, I'm just going to do a first round mock draft. And if this video can get, say, 50 likes, I'll do more throughout the offseason, leading up to the draft. So this is my first one, and if you're new to the channel, I don't do trades in the draft, in the mock draft, because I don't know how certain teams value that pick or how that team values players, so I'm not even going to bother with trades. So, these are just how it is. The current order, that's how I'm going. And I'm going to try to go through these quick because there is 32 picks, so I'm not really going to explain the player. I expect most people to know these players because these are all first round prospects. But, I will explain my reasoning behind the pick. So with the first overall pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Nick Bosa, edge rusher out of Ohio State. Now, obviously Arizona, they're probably the least talented team in the NFL. No offense, Cardinals fans, but when you have the number 1 overall pick and your team is as untalented as the Cardinals, you got to pick the best player available, and in this draft, that's Nick Bosa. With the second overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Josh Allen, edge rusher out of Kentucky. The Niners have, some good talent on offense. Defensively, they're looking pretty good on the interior defensive line. He needs some edge rushers, though, and Josh Allen is one of the better ones in this draft. With the third overall pick, the New York Jets select Jonah Williams, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Now, last year, the Jets just drafted, their young quarterback, Sam Darnold. Now they need to draft someone to protect them. With the fourth overall pick, the Oakland Raiders select Quinnen Williams, defensive lineman out of Alabama. See, the Raiders, you can make an argument for them being the least talented team in the NFL, either the Raiders or the Cardinals. And Quinnen Williams, many people have him as the best player, even though I don't think he is. I think Bosa's better because Quinnen Williams is an interior defensive lineman, but the Raiders, they need talent anywhere, so they'll take the best player available at number 4, and in this moment, it is Quinnen Williams. With the fifth overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Greedy Williams, corner out of LSU. Now, people may argue DeAndre Baker's a better corner. It doesn't really matter. I think, to me, both of them are the top 2. But the Buccaneers really need some secondary help. They got, Bruce Arians, offensive mind. They should be good offensively. Last year, they had one of the best offenses, but their defense was terrible. So, bring in the best corner. With the sixth pick, the New York Giants select Dwayne Haskins, quarterback out of Ohio State. The Giants need a quarterback. It's simple as that. Eli is old and washed up. They need the future. They have Odell. They have Saquon Barkley. Bring in a young quarterback that can actually do something with the offensive weapons he has. With the seventh pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Kyler Murray, quarterback out of Oklahoma. That's right. Even though there is some rumors that Nick Foles is going to Jacksonville, I still think regardless of that, I still think that they're going to pick a quarterback. And I think that quarterback's going to be Kyler Murray. I feel like teams are starting to transition into a more of a mobile quarterback league. I mean, look around. Deshaun, Baker, Mahomes, like all these quarterbacks, these younger, next generation, even Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, they're more mobile, they're kind of getting away from that traditional stand up and throw the ball in the pocket type of guy. So I think Kyler Murray gets drafted to the Jaguars regardless. There is some questions about his height, but, I think the Jaguars will pick a quarterback. With the eighth pick in the draft, the Detroit Lions select DeAndre Baker, cornerback out of Georgia. The Lions, they have a pretty decent offense. They have, Kerryon Johnson. They have Matthew Stafford, who I don't think is that bad of a quarterback as people make him out to be. And he has some weapons to go with that defensively. It's not looking so good for Detroit. Glover Quinn just got released by them. They do have Darius Slay. They could use some talent anywhere else on that defense. But, another part that they do need talent on that defense is that second corner spot. I think Baker could come in here and be the perfect combination with Darius Slay, that 1-2 duo, kind of like Jalen Ramsey and AJ Boye down there in Jacksonville. With the 9th pick in the NFL draft, the Buffalo Bills select DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. The Bills ain't got no weapons, man. Last year they got carried by defense and the legs of Josh Allen, the quarterback. So he needs some weapons. Personally, I don't think Josh Allen's the answer for Buffalo, but you gotta give him a fair shot. Giving him a fair shot, you gotta get him some weapons. And I think Metcalf fits perfectly with what they need. A bigger receiver, Allen isn't the most accurate guy, so, go get a big guy that can go up there and catch him. With the 10th pick in the draft, the Denver Broncos select Drew Lock, quarterback out of Missouri. Yes, I know they just traded for Joe Flacco, but I've heard rumors that the Broncos really like this guy and they're willing to take him in the first round. So that's kind of where I'm going with that pick. Not a big fan of Drew Lock, but, if the team likes him, then that's on them. With the 11th pick in the draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle out of Florida. They got to protect Andy Dalton or, maybe their quarterback of the future if they choose to move on from Andy Dalton anytime soon. They need help up front, and Jawan Taylor is one of the better offensive tackles in this draft. With the 12th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Montez Sweat, edge rusher out of Mississippi State. The Packers have a terrible defense. Clay Matthews is old and washed up. That secondary has young players, so, bring in some young players on that defensive front. With the 13th pick in the draft, the Miami Dolphins select Rashawn Gary, defensive lineman out of Michigan. Dolphins, similar to the Cardinals and the Raiders, they need talent pretty much everywhere. Literally everywhere. They don't have a quarterback. Their O-line is Their defense is besides Xavier Howard and Minka Fitzpatrick and a few other players. They need talent anywhere. I've heard rumors that the Dolphins are going full tank mode for the next year. So, who knows what they're going to do here. With the 14th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Ed Oliver, defensive lineman out of Houston. Ed Oliver is one of the better interior defensive linemen in this draft. Atlanta just straight up needs help defensively. With the 15th pick, the Washington Redskins select Byron Murphy, corner out of Washington. I mean, if I'm being honest, I feel like this year's kind of going to be a tank year for the Redskins. There's really no quarterback for them available. Alex Smith is most likely going to miss the season. At this point in the draft, I don't see them picking a quarterback. That'd be a waste. So, pick up a player that can help you somewhere else. Byron Murphy, one of the better corners in the draft. Throw him back there with Josh Norman. You could even cut Josh Norman if you want to, because Josh Norman has been a bit of a disappointment for them. So, for the Redskins, I think it'll be a best player available type of draft, because I don't see them doing anything next year without Alex Smith. And who knows if Alex Smith might even come back. With the 16th pick, the Carolina Panthers select Greg Little, offensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Now, Greg Little, one of the better, tackles in the draft. The Panthers, they need to protect Cam Newton. Cam Newton is hurting, from his shoulder. There's some rumors going out there that the Panthers are considering sitting out Newton for the year so he could fully heal up. And if he is, even if he isn't, you got to protect him. Cam Newton has taken way too many hits in his career, so you got to get the best lineman available. But the 17th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Devin White, linebacker out of LSU. Now, this is just simply best player available in my opinion. Devin White is the best linebacker in the draft. I mean, add him to an already talented Browns defense. I mean, Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers, Denzel Ward, and some other names. He'd really help them out and really help elevate Cleveland to the next level. With the 18th pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Cody Ford, offensive lineman out of Oklahoma. Now, obviously the Vikings need offensive line help, and I think Cody Ford is probably the best available lineman here. And I say lineman because some people think he's an offensive tackle, some think he's a guard. Regardless, the Vikings need help everywhere on that line, so Cody Ford can help them inside or outside, wherever they choose to plug him in. With the 19th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Marquise Brown, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Now, I know he has a Liz Frank injury, but he will be back before training camp, so he could participate in the offseason activities. And the Titans just need an explosive playmaker opposite Corey Davis. Mariota just needs better weapons, Delanie Walker, you don't know if he's going to be back to how he was before the injury. So, surround Mariota with weapons. And Marquise Brown is an explosive weapon. With the 20th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Clelin Ferrell, edge rusher out of Clemson. I mean, Bud Dupree, he's not that special, Defensively, the Steelers need some help. The Steelers are just a mess, honestly. They need help anywhere at this point. Antonio Brown wants out. Big Ben's getting old and washed up. I think that team's a mess, honestly. With the 21st pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Jeffrey Simmons, defensive lineman out of Mississippi State. I'm really surprised that the Seahawks performed well last year, and last season in the playoffs, the Cowboys ran the ball down their throat. So, obviously, when that happens, you need some help in the middle. And at this point in the draft, Jeffrey Simmons is the best interior defensive lineman available. With the 22nd pick, the Baltimore Ravens select N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Personally, I don't think Lamar Jackson's the answer, but again, similar to Josh Allen, you got to give him a shot. So, give him some weapons, because that offense, besides the tight ends, they don't have many weapons. So bring in the best wide receiver available. With the 23rd pick, the Houston Texans select Dalton Reisner, offensive tackle out of Kansas State. Houston has an O-line problem. Dalton Reisner is the best offensive tackle available. So yeah. With the 24th pick, the Oakland Raiders select Ja'Kai Polite, edge rusher out of Florida. Similar to how I said earlier, they need talent everywhere. And I have picked two defensive players for the Raiders back-to-back, because when they're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, they're going to need to slow him down. Offensively, last season, they were able to somewhat keep up with the Chiefs, so now they got to slow him down and see if they can keep up again this season, because at the end of the day, they're chasing the people in their division, and the Chiefs are on top. With the 25th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Dexter Lawrence, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Now, the Eagles, they pretty much have talent almost everywhere, all across the board. They're one of those few rare teams where you can legitimately go best player available. So, I literally went Dexter Lawrence, defensive lineman, pair him with Fletcher Cox, and they can be a deadly duo for years to come. With the 26th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Jalen Ferguson, edge rusher out of Louisiana Tech. The Colts need help defensively, edge rusher in particular. They already have Darius Leonard, defensive rookie of the year. The guy was amazing. Go get an edge rusher and really improve your defense. Jalen Ferguson is the best guy available to do that. With the 27th pick, the Oakland Raiders select Jonathan Abram, safety out of Mississippi State. Again, chasing the Chiefs. Need talent pretty much everywhere. Get the best DB available. With the 28th pick, the LA Chargers select Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan. In the divisional round of the playoffs, similar to the Cowboys, Patriots ran the ball and just did whatever they wanted to do to the Chargers. The Chargers' biggest weakness defensively is those linebackers, so get the best linebacker available at this point. With the 29th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Amani Oruwariye, corner out of Penn State. Best corner available. The Chiefs defensively yikes, they need help all over that secondary besides maybe Eric Berry. So Amani's the best corner available. So, and I do think he has a late first round grade. Personally, I think he's the 4th best corner in the draft. So why not? With the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Jerry Tillery, defensive lineman out of Notre Dame. Similar to what I said earlier, they have young players on the back end of their defense. They need some young players in the front. That defense is terrible. Rodgers cannot do everything himself, even though he had a down year, but I think that's 100% on Mike McCarthy being a bad coach. With the 31st pick, the LA Rams select Draymond Jones, defensive lineman, Ohio State. They're about to lose Ndamukong Suh. The reason the Rams were so deadly in the playoffs was that interior pressure from Suh and Donald, and I don't think the Rams are going to be able to re-sign Suh, so bring in a guy. With the 32nd pick, the New England Patriots select Noah Fant, tight end out of Iowa. Noah Fant is the best tight end available in the draft. He is the best tight end. He's probably the only tight end that deserves to go in the first round. And, you know, there's some questions about Gronkowski retiring. And Gronkowski, you know, has apparently lost a step. So why not bring in the guy that can replace him if he does choose to retire, or who can, you know, be there with Gronkowski, learn from Gronkowski when Gronkowski does choose to retire, because in my opinion, Gronkowski's body is giving out on him, and, you know, it might give out on him pretty soon. So, yeah. Anyways, that is my mock draft, the first one of the off season. Let me know again if you want more. Anyways, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.